It's an economic slump as sharp as this one. It is staggering, these numbers. About 5.5 million people filed for unemployment benefits last week. That was slightly down, if there is any good news to be had here, from the week before, but it still brought that total, as you just mentioned there, to 22 million people. Now, it took several years for the numbers to reach not even that peak in the Great Recession. What's staggering about this is it's all happened in the last 4 weeks' time. Obviously, that's a total nightmare for Donald Trump, who is desperate, as we know, to get the economy opened up. Interestingly, the way they're doing it here is, rather than in the UK where they're subsidising or helping to subsidise wages, here they're trying to boost unemployment benefits. So that is really making things much more difficult because people are losing their jobs. They're having to seek unemployment benefits and then potentially to get another job as and when this crisis finishes. They are also giving money to small businesses. There was a fund, but ironically today that fund has now run out. And this being in America, politics is, of course, getting in the way. And the Republicans and the Democrats are fighting about a way to extend that. So this crisis, this level of unemployment, I'm afraid every economist agrees, is only going to get worse.
Siobhan Kennedy. Now, after denial comes the crackdown, as cases of coronavirus begin surging in Russia, with almost 28,000 infections and 232 deaths. President Putin has announced that the annual celebration of the victory over Nazi Germany on May the 9th will be postponed. Other measures include digital permits in Moscow in order to be allowed to leave home. And as our international editor Lindsay Hilson now reports, it's meant rough tactics and arrests by police against government critics, including one doctor who was detained as she tried to hand out PPE to hospital workers who simply didn't have any.
It was a bright, cold day in April, but the clocks have not struck 13 in Moscow. Russia's attempts at controlling coronavirus through Orwellian Big Brother surveillance have been beset by problems. Huge traffic jams block the streets as police manually check the digital travel passes that since yesterday Muscovites have been obliged to download. It can take a while.
Ну, конечно, понимание, если бы все понимали, быстрее бы это все прошло, и мы уже бы зажили нормальной жизнью.
Outside the metro, they check the code that shows where you're going and why, which causes delays, and then inside some stations, a distinct lack of social distancing.
Rapid population growth of the city.
The Moscow authorities are using facial recognition in street cameras to pick out people who should be in quarantine. According to the website of the company which developed the technology, 200 violators have been issued with warnings.
If this instrument is used for some unexpected situations, like epidemics, it can do a lot of good things. It could be very useful to the city.
More overt techniques are also in use. Earlier this month, Dr. Anastasia Vasilyeva tried to deliver PPE to hospitals in Western Russia and was promptly arrested. She's a known opposition supporter and head of a doctors' union. Her detention focused minds on the problems Russian medical staff face.
I'm just trying to open the doctor's eyes and the medical staff eyes. And I'm trying to explain them that they should not be quiet, and they should speak about absence of protection, absence of equipment, and that they should not die with silence.
The issue is more fraught because the Russian government has made a big show of sending medics abroad, like these military doctors working in Bergamo in Italy. They even sent aid to New York. Eventually, late last month, President Putin put on a hazmat suit to signal he took the threat at home seriously. Today, he met his Security Council. The postponement of celebrations to mark the 75th anniversary of the victory over Nazi Germany shows just how worried he is. Back in March, a Russian chat show host interviewed the virus.
Почему некоторые люди тогда
asking if maybe he had arrived in Moscow earlier than the government said and his presence had been covered up. He fudged a response. Maybe afraid of being imprisoned for 5 years under a new law against spreading false news about himself.